We're here with Bjarte Ystebo, and he's from Norway, and want to get his take on foreign policy and issues of war and peace. So my first question is, do you have a principle that permits you to determine when we should go to war and when we shouldn't, either for Norway or for the United States? It doesn't matter.
Well, I think that what unites the people here at this conference are the values of that we take from the Bible, the God-given rights of freedom and the right to life, etc. And when those are at stake, that's when we need to be involved in taking care of business, and especially as it refers to the freedom of people abroad. Just like America has been a great nation in leading Europe to freedom, and obviously been a force for good. That's what we want to see also in the future. So we want to see.
So what is the principle? Do you have one or you don't have one?
No, I don't know if I have a creed that I could just off the top of my head, but I do believe in freedom, and I do believe in an active engagement from the United States in leading the world, and that's why I'm here supporting this conference and these great leaders on the conservative side in America.
So if you don't have a principle, because I asked you, do you have a principle? So I guess you don't have a specific principle that permits you to determine when we should go to war and when we shouldn't, right?
No, I don't have a litmus test as far as those issues. You'd have to look at that situation from time to time. But I think that the principles by which we govern the Bible and the faith and liberty, that's what decides when we need to take action.
Well, what is a principle?
Principle is something that is absolute, that you govern by, that you live your life by, and that guides you in your decisions.
So it's a rule. You can express it, but you haven't expressed any rule or principle that said we should go to war in this case and in this case not. For example, the United States Constitution is based on the principle of only going to war in the common defense of the states. That's all it says. It doesn't give any other reason for going to war. Do you think that there's any other proper reason for going to war besides self-defense? So self-defense I would define as if we are attacked or there's an imminent threat of an attack, they're about to attack us, then we can use military force. Otherwise, not.
Principle is fine. The application is where I would differ with you. I mean,
which application do you differ? I haven't stated any application.
Well, you said when America is being attacked or when an attack is imminent. I think, for example, with what's going on in the Middle East, I think although there might not be an attack, depending on how you define the terrorist attacks, I think it's right for America to be preemptively combating ISIS and the forces that are trying to...
That's not the principle of self-defense, though, because they haven't attacked us, right?
No.
I gave you that as an example of a principle, since you were struggling to identify a principle, and so that would be an example of the principle that commands the U.S. Constitution. So let me ask you this: if you don't have a principle, a specific rule that says in this kind of situation you should go to war and this other kind of situation you shouldn't, can you evaluate effectively?
Sure. I mean, you have to consider whenever you're deciding whether to take military action, what are going to be the costs, what are the chances that we will be successful.
Well, what is an evaluation?
And that would be a consideration, looking at the case in question and considering what your options are and what's the right way to go.
Yeah, based on some principles. If there's no principle, you can't evaluate, because all evaluations involve deductive reasoning, the application of a general rule to a specific situation. If you don't have any principle or general rule, you're not really evaluating. It's just based on your whim. One day you want to go into Libya and the other day you don't want to go into Syria. It doesn't make any sense one way or the other because it's not guided by any principle.
Well, I don't think these are easy decisions, but I think that when you have the facts and you have your values, then you are in a position to make the right decisions.
So on your show, Norway Today, what kind of issues do you discuss? If you don't discuss this issue of what is the proper principle to use when deciding when to go to war, right?
I know that we haven't discussed that question. We discuss all kinds of stuff. We discuss, obviously, international policy, the security situation in the Middle East, whatever, plus all the other values, issues that are apparent in our time.
Right. So you want the United States and other countries to intervene in other countries, even if they're not attacked or they're not an imminent threat of attack. So each country will decide when they think it's proper. Like Saddam Hussein decided to invade Kuwait. He said, well, nobody seems to object. They have a lot of gold and a lot of oil, so let me see if I can steal it.
Well, that would be right if you would set all these countries at a moral equivalency. I believe in the moral leadership of the United States.
No, some are right, but what I'm saying is each country decides on its own without reference to the principle of self-defense. Then the principle of national sovereignty is not respected. You can invade any country because you say that we don't like the policy there, whatever.
Well, I believe in the United Nations. I believe in the NATO, and I believe in an great American tradition and history, being a force for good and intervening when it's necessary. Not always does one get it right, but I still believe that American leadership is the way we need to take care of business in the world.
But without a principle, can you actually evaluate effectively? Because that's why our foreign policy is all over the place, right? We intervened in Libya, but we didn't intervene in Syria. You recall? The president drew the red line and then he didn't do anything. You remember?
I'm not happy about how this president has been conducting his foreign policy.
Well, did you like the way President Bush invaded Iraq based on the pretense that they were going to attack America? They had weapons of mass destruction. It turned out to be false. And also based on the pretext that he was going to liberate the Iraqis. Have the Iraqis been liberated, or are they in a royal mess now?
They're definitely in a mess. Now, I don't think, like I said, I don't think these are easy decisions. It's very easy looking back, 2020 hindsight.
Well, if you have a principle, it's easy, but if you don't, you can't reason.
Well, I don't know how to comment on that, but I do believe, like I said, in Ronald Reagan's foreign policy, and being a force for good and intervening when it's necessary.
Well, we appreciate your sympathy and support for the United States, but I guess we differ on whether you need a principle or not, and if you do need a principle, what is the right principle? Thank you for the interview.